President Shabazz.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Your hair's pretty.
Thank you. It needs to be colored. You can't see the top, but it needs to be done.
Hanifa,
Yes,
this is at 6, right?
yes, public comments, but I understand there are no speakers.
Oh, there's no speakers. Okay, awesome. Hi, Councilwoman Walsh.
Hi, how are you, Maribel?
I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, thanks.
Awesome.
Please note, I think we are live on YouTube, though. We're recording. Councilwoman Harley, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Do you really look like that behind that picture?
Of course not.
You're supposed to say, yes, you do.
I know. It's only us on here, right?
No, we're live on YouTube.
Okay, you did just say that.
so there aren't any public speakers?
That's correct, ma'am.
Can't they just do that with my picture?
Can you put a picture like that? I think someone has to do that for you. We can
Okay.
get staff to do that for you.
Gotcha.
Okay, good. We're about to begin. It is 6 o'clock promptly. So, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 7th, 2020 meeting of the Wilmington City Council. This is the public comment portion of our meeting. We do not have any public individuals who have signed up for public comment. So we will reconvene at 6:30 promptly for the business agenda of the Wilmington City Council's business meeting. So we will be back for promptly at 6:30 to start the agenda of the business meeting with City Council. Thank you.
So we can we can disconnect until 6:30.
Yes, Michelle.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if you heard me. Again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the City of Wilmington's meeting of City Council. Today is May 7th, 2020, and I would like to call the meeting to please come to order. We will have the opening prayer by Andrea Queen.
In humility, gratitude, and great joy, we open our hearts, our eyes, our ears, our minds, as we meet to serve our city with the intent on doing good work, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. As trusted servants, we seek guidance on our deliberations. And on our efforts, may we act wisely and well and strive to reach our higher potential.
At this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag
of the
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Present.
Councilman Congo,
Here.
Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Harley,
Present.
Councilman Turner,
Here.
excuse me, Councilman Turner.
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCoy,
Here.
Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Frio,
Here.
Councilman Adams,
Here.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Here.
Councilman Guy,
Present.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Here,
and just for clarity, Councilwoman Oliver,
Her mic is muted.
okay. President Shabazz,
Present.
and just for clarity, President Shabazz, are you noting that she is present?
I'm noting that I see her on, but I see her video and her mic is muted.
All right. At this time, 12 present and 1 absent.
Reading of the minutes of the previous meeting.
April 16, 2020, City Council met in virtual regular session on the above date at 6:30 p.m. President Hanifa Shabazz.
I move the minutes be accepted as written.
second,
It's been properly moved to second. The minutes be accepted as written on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes accepted. Committee reports.
April 27th, 2020, present members of Council, City of Wilmington, ladies and gentlemen, we, your virtual Finance and Economic Development Committee, to whom was referred to ordinance number 20-010, entitled an ordinance to authorize an amendment to a sublease agreement between the city and DETV Foundation, Inc. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present: Councilman Frio, Councilman Adams, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Oliver, President Shabazz, absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
Move the committee report be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by yea, nay vote.
second,
It's been properly moved to second. The report received, recorded, and filed. On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Minutes accepted.
April 27, 2020, we, your Virtual Finance and Economic Development Committee, to whom was referred ordinance number 20-018 entitled, an ordinance establishing salaries of city council members for the 108th session to be effective as of January 5th, 2021. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted. Those members present: Councilman Frio, Councilman Adams, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Oliver, President Shabazz, and absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
I move that committee report be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by yea and nay vote.
second,
It's been properly moved and second that report be received, recorded, and filed on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Report accepted.
April 27th, 2020, we, your Virtual Finance and Economic Development Committee, to whom was referred ordinance number 20-019 entitled, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code in order to authorize the city treasurer to access the budget reserve account funds for fiscal year 2020 and require replenishment of the budget reserve account funds in the issuing fiscal year. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted. Those members present: Councilman Frio, Councilman Adams, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Oliver, President Shabazz, and absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh.
Madam President, may I be marked at, present, I'm sorry.
Please mark Councilwoman Oliver present.
So noted.
Do I hear a second on the committee report?
second,
It's been properly moved to second the report be received, recorded, and filed on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Motion carried. The city treasurer's report.
As of May 7, 2020, total investment, $366,609,496.44. Total cash on hand, $22,770,089.80. Grand total, $389,379,586.24. Velda Jones Potter, City Treasurer.
I move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
second,
It's been
Second.
properly moved and seconded the report be received, recorded, and filed on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Accept the motion to move to accept all non-legislative business.
so moved,
Second.
It's been properly moved to second, accept all non-legislative business on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Aye.
Motion carried. We are not doing any in-person presentations, but I would like to acknowledge that there was a resolution of sympathy recognizing the passing of Dr. Joseph Johnson on behalf of all members of council. There was a resolution of sympathy for Ms. Lois Gatewood by Councilwoman Harley, Oliver, and myself, and sympathy resolution by Councilwoman Oliver for Kenyatta X. Brooks, and also sympathy resolution for Ms. Irma V. Peterson, sponsored by Councilman Oliver and myself. With that, I'd like to go into the legislative business. On our agenda this evening, Councilmember Gray, any legislation this evening?
None this evening, Madam President.
Councilmember Congo, any legislation this evening?
Nothing tonight, Madam President. Thank you.
Councilmember Oliver, legislation today?
Yes, Madam President. I have an ordinance present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 20-010, Agenda 4781. An ordinance to authorize an amendment to a sublease agreement between the city and DETV Foundation, Inc.
Madam President, I move this be known as an enacting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea, nay vote.
second,
It's been properly moved to second that be known as an acting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea, nay vote on the question.
Madam President, this ordinance is being presented by the City Council for council's review and approval. This ordinance authorized the execution of an amended lease agreement between the City of Wilmington and DETV Foundation, Inc., for the studio space located at 2801 Lancaster Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, to provide that the city shall cover the cost of utilities related to the lease premises.
Okay, I don't see any comments from members of council. Are there any comments for the public? I don't see any comments from the public. Someone has their hand up on members of council. Hold on, I'm trying to see who it is. Councilmember Harley.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to get clarity that the funding for this is not coming from City Council's budget.
That's correct. This is from the CBT funds.
Right, which is not City Council's funds, right?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other comments for members of council? Councilwoman Oliver, do you have any closing comments?
Madam President, I'd just like to call for the vote.
Clerk, will please call for the vote.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilman Congo,
No.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes,
Councilman Turner,
Present.
Councilwoman McCoy,
No.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
no,
Councilman Guy,
No.
Councilwoman Walsh,
yes,
President Shabazz.
Yes.
Eight yeas, 4 nays, and 1 present.
Declared adopted. Councilmember Harley, legislation this evening.
oh, no legislation tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Turner,
No legislation tonight, Madam President.
Councilmember McCoy, legislation.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes, Madam President. I have a resolution to present on your behalf.
thank you.
Resolution 20-022, Agenda 4799. Whereas the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act,
At
CARES
this
Act,
time, I move for this resolution to be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a yea, nay vote.
Second.
second,
It's been properly moved and second that resolution be received, recorded, filed, adopted by a yea, nay vote on the question.
This is, this resolution is related to the coronavirus pandemic. As you know, both our city and our state has been dealing with this epidemic. I'm going on 2 months now. This is presented for council's approval, and it asks the United States Senate and the United States House to pass HR 6467, which provides funding to municipalities. Right now, we have had dollars provided to large counties, such as Newcastle, and also states, but municipal governments were left out of this, and states more or less didn't receive the great amount of funding they need. And where we stand right now, a lot of the funding we have is simply going to go to just direct reimbursements. And so for us to prevent the shutdown of future services, such as sanitation, or have to be faced with hard and tough layoffs, it is very crucial that we push our federal delegation to get this passed. I personally thought it would be passed in the last CARES Act version. Unfortunately, it was not part of it. So we have to push our delegation and other U.S. House members throughout the country to get this passed. It's going to be crucial we get these dollars in to city coffers as quickly as possible. It will save lives, and with the extra funding, we can then help the residents who have the homeless issues, have the transitional housing issues, have the health issues. So in all, we just want to be on the front lines of saying we need this now. And I hope the rest of my council members support this.
And can I get clarity also, Councilman Johnson, that this request is so that the municipalities could use the monies for some of its financial loss?
Yes. So this is direct.
Our revenue loss.
Yeah, so this is direct revenue replacement. And so it's that flexible funding portion, which is very important, because right now, any dollars we're looking in or direct reimbursable dollars, which those of you who filed the town hall last night that the COVID working group had, we talked a lot about that. There are dollars that Newcastle County has right now, but that's for the direct reimbursable funds. That is not for the flexible spending, the revenue loss fund. So this is very important that we get these dollars through, and we're hopeful it will pass. And I think Congress gets back from recess, I guess, next week. So hopefully it comes.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, actually, I'm very much in agreement with this piece of legislation, and I had asked for my name to be added. So I did notice in the draft it was not. So please add my name to this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank all members of council who did agree to sign on to this important legislation. Thank you. Councilmember Guy.
Yes, Madam President. Okay, so all governments need financial assistance. And recently, something was brought to our attention about reimbursement for the police department. And we were supposed to get a copy of their application for reimbursement that was requested at the committee meeting. I've not seen such a document yet. That's a problem because we keep being asked to support reimbursement and things of that nature, but people don't want to let us know what they're requesting. So I just want to point that out. It's like we got a secret government going on here. And that leads to problems, lack of transparency. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that while we're asking for money from the federal government, I note that the mayor and the law department have not lifted one finger to recover our $3.5 million. So the public needs to understand that when all this cry of doom and we need this money so people don't get laid off and so services don't get cut, that's a bunch of jive. Because if it's somebody's friend, we don't get 3.5 million. The other thing is there's 5 million that the mayor spent to buy a piece of property downtown through one of our corporations. So they're doing spending sprees and then have us acting like all heck is breaking loose.
Council
Well,
President.
all heck is breaking loose, right? But as we're requesting this money from the federal government, we also have a responsibility to do what we can do to make sure that we have our money. There's also an ordinance we just passed within the last month before the stock market crashed for us to go try to get the $7 million savings through the refund. The mayor never called the meeting and then the stock market crashed because he didn't want to call a meeting because it wasn't his idea.
Council President, I have a point of order.
So when we're asking people.
Point of order, Mr. Guy.
Yes. What's your point of order?
Councilwoman Walsh, you have a point of order?
I'm wondering, aren't we on legislation still?
Yes.
All I'm hearing is a lecture, which I would think could be said during communications and has nothing to do with the piece of legislation I have sitting in front of me. So could we please get to the legislation?
Well, that's the problem we have when
Councilman Guy,
there's
could you keep
Yeah.
your comments to the request of encouraging the Congress to vote for the COVID Community Relief Act? As to our internal financial situations, that from your perspective, sir, is not toward, is not, it might be your reasoning for what your vote, but it's not
fact.
it's not fact toward this piece of legislation.
No, it's all fact. That's
Well, but
the
it's not
problem.
relevant to this piece of legislation. It's relevant
It's
to the
relevant.
financial situation
It's
of the city,
relevant.
but that has nothing to do with whether we're going to ask the Congress to vote for this COVID relief monies for our revenue reimbursement.
Well, it does, because from my perspective, how we handle our money has something to do with how we ask other people for their money.
Well, it's
So-
not their money, it's all taxpayer dollars. These are all our dollars. We're asking for our tax dollars to help us to pay for reimbursement of the revenue loss that we are experiencing under the COVID. So if
And
you want
I'm
to discuss when we
commenting on-
receive it, sir, if you could keep it, if you want to do when you receive it, then that's a different conversation. But right now, we're asking, do you want to support the encouragement of Congress to pass this legislation?
And then during my 5 minutes, which you always want to help her keep me from talking. If y'all let me get my 5 minutes, so I'm on topic. It's
I'm
not
just
what you
trying to
want
do,
to
keep
hear.
maintain order, sir.
No, you're trying to keep me from
Oh.
speaking the truth. Just let me
How much
finish.
time- how
5
much
minutes.
time- Your time,
That's
sir.
all you gotta do.
Continue, Councilman Guy, continue.
Yeah, that's all you had to do in the first place. So now, what's my time left? How much time do I have left?
Clerk, you have, city clerk, could you tell me how much time he has left?
I don't have that, ma'am.
I mean, Andrea, 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
Okay. So
There's no 2
before
minutes.
I was so rudely interrupted, I went through a series of monetary issues of our internal affairs that when we're trying to go and ask other levels of government to give us money, we have our own money if we would handle it properly. So when I look at us asking the federal government for money, we're just asking them for some money to go give it to the friends again. The community, where the money needs to go, is straight directly for the benefit of the community. The money doesn't need to go to us as the government to supposedly look out for the community, because that's not what we do with the money. We use the money for monopoly instead of looking out for the people. So I hope they send some money, but I hope they put enough strings attached to it that it has to go directly for the benefit of the people, not for the politicians to play monopoly with and for them to fail to handle our money properly. Now, I'll write a letter to DC myself if y'all keep interfering with me. Just let me have my 5 minutes. That's
Yes,
all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The first thing we have to do to get out of this hole is to reopen the economy on up. We're not going to get out of any hole if we don't open up the economy. We can certainly deal with safe measures. I know we're going to loosen up hopefully a little bit on this Friday, and maybe with each week we can get back to a point where we don't have to constantly ask for money. Now, I know there's supposed to be a large northeastern snowstorm this weekend, and so I guess maybe that's appropriate that I sort of agree with Councilman Guy's cogent argument with regard to where he seemed to be asking for an awful lot of money, and when you add things up, it doesn't seem to be that much needed. Okay, now let's take the state, for instance, because basically the money's supposed to go from the federal government to the state to the city. The state got $1.2 billion in COVID relief. According to DFAC, who is the committee that sets revenues up, said that they're going to be $450 million short this year, which ends June 30th, and $250 million short in the first quarter of next year. That comes to $700 million. So somehow there's $500 more million there. And if you want to say, well, gee whiz, Newcastle County got about $350 million of that, that still leaves close to $200 million left on a state level that, hey, just doesn't seem to be needed for the funds in here. Now let's go from the city, from the state down to the county and even the city itself. The city had projected a $6 million surplus. If you listen to the revenues in the WEFAC meeting, they said that we're short $9 million. Okay, so 9 minus 6 means we're short $3 million. We have a tax stabilization fund, and we have a few other things that we can certainly make good calls with that. And we understand that that surplus was as of March 31st. So if you figure another 1.5, we just might actually come out even at the end of this year on June 30th. So quite frankly, I do not see this pandemic as a money grab situation in order to fund for things that we don't need or just to have money on hand. We authorize the treasurer to go ahead and borrow the money if the need be. And so quite frankly, I see no reason why we got to have our hat in our hand asking for more money in this situation when we were in a surplus position. And if you count the revenues that they said we're losing, then that would bring us very close to a break-even situation. So quite frankly, this is unneeded. Quite frankly, the state doesn't need any more money either. And how the county executive is going to spend $325 million is beyond me too. But I'm sure they'll find a way to spend the thing. So, hey, this money's got to be made up by people with tax dollars sooner or later, either whether they take it out of my money for my pocket for federal reasons, whether they take it out of my pocket for state reasons, or whether they take it out of my pocket for local reasons. It's all the same. It's still coming out of people's pockets. And we got to stop asking for money. It's a pandemic. It's not a money grab. And, like I said, it's supposedly going to snow on the Northeast, especially in New York this weekend. And hey, I thought Councilman Guy made a cogent argument as to why we don't need these funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Adams. Councilwoman Harley. Councilwoman Harley.
Thank you, Council President. I lowered my hand. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Councilwoman Oliver.
Thank you, Madam President. Relating to this resolution, I think it's needed, unless I'm the only one watching TV and see people lined up at the food banks and unemployment rate at an all-time high in the state of Delaware, and with the Purdue, with the chicken and the beef. And I think any money that the federal government is trying to give to municipalities is overdue. And this is through the United States Senate and the House of Representatives, and they are pushing municipalities to assist with asking government as ourselves to request for this money. So they're asking for a big push on this, and I'd like to be added on it. So it's all on the news, unless you're not watching the news and you're not reading the paper. This is not nothing that the councilman or Chris has made up. They're begging for it if you watch MSNBC or CNN. So please, I'd like to be added as a sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to give clarity that the CARES Act is based on reimbursement costs and expenditures. It's not just for any and other expenditures that were caused by the impact of the COVID virus. So we're not talking about just replenishing city operations, but what the city has to do to deal with the impact of the COVID virus. And there are very strict guidelines on how you can access the money, and we must be in line with the federal guidelines. And so even as we approach Newcastle County for our eligible reimbursement costs, it must be legitimate expenditure. So it's not just haphazardly anything to load our pockets. We have guidelines that we have to follow by. There is major impacts that our community are feeling from this, from our least of us to businesses, to our businesses, and to our just everyday family members. So there are legitimate expenditures over the other outstanding mode of operations that has been impacted by the COVID virus. And so if there is, and in trying to address them, these dollars that we're asking for would be for that. So if we don't if we get the money and we don't have legitimate expenditures for them, we don't spend the money. We have to send the money back. So it's only to ensure that we are able to address the fiscal impact and social impact that the COVID virus pandemic has left us in. Councilwoman Harley, do I see your hand back up again now?
Yes, you do, Council President. And I thought that I wanted to just mention the fact that I am a co-signer on this resolution. And one of my primary reasons for wanting to co-sign is because it also has been said over and over that we really have not gathered in the full impact of this pandemic, and that we're still, tallying up numbers. So I think that it's not really premature for us to want to be ahead of the curve in terms of having what is needed. And if we don't, as you said, as you just mentioned, then that's a great thing. But it's better to have the money and not need it than to need it and not have it. So I think this is a good piece of legislation, and I'm really happy to be a co-sponsor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Walsh.
Yes, thank you, Council President. That's basically what I was going to say, what Councilmember Harley just said. You know, everybody's supposing what's going to happen, and I don't think we have a clue as to what the impact is going to be on our community in Wilmington. I don't think anybody has an idea of what it's going to be throughout the state of Delaware. This has only been going on for 6 or 7 weeks now. And everybody thinks it's going to be over in 2 weeks and we're going to just all go along and sing Kumbaya and everything's going to be right again. It's going to take, just like it's going to take the poor restaurant owners years maybe to recover what the damage that's been done to them. The same can apply to us as a city. And I think this is just a savings account that we'll have to see whether or not it's emergency money that we need.
Thank you, Councilman Walsh. Councilman Guy.
Yes, Madam President. Under circumstances like this, responsible governments don't go spending $5 million buying property to hold it for their friends so other people can't buy it. Responsible governments don't fail to get quotes on refunding bonds that might save $7 million. Responsible governments don't try to get their $3.5 million from the Wilmington Housing Partnership. That's what Wilmington does. So if we have a problem financially, it's because of these spending sprees and irresponsible use of the taxpayers' money. Now, I want us to get reimbursed for anything we can get reimbursed for that's related to COVID. But I don't want people exploiting the fact that there's COVID and saying, okay, now we can get our hands on a whole bunch of money and use it the way we want to use it, because that's the norm around here. So like I said, the first time I spoke, I hope they have a whole lot of restrictions on what can be done, because I've seen enough to know what will happen if they just send some money over here to Wilmington. It'll never get to the benefit of the people. That's all I have.
Thank you. And just for clarification, the guidelines do say that only for expenditures, reimbursement expenditures from the date of the pandemic forward, and it has to meet the guidelines of the federal government and the state to be reimbursed. Anything that does not meet those qualifications, we would have to pay back. With that, Councilman Adams.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Again, the numbers don't add up here. And yes, we all watch TV, but the city doesn't pay unemployment and the city doesn't pay for supplies at the food bank. Okay, those are all handled outside the city thing. And hey, if you want to make those excuses in order to say that we need additional monies when we don't need them, the numbers do not add up at this point in time. And to say that the federal government should be funding savings accounts for the local governments, I think is absolutely wrong. And there's nothing in this thing that says that if the money's not spent, the money's going to be given back. Now, maybe if you want to make an amendment like that to this thing that says, okay, if we only have 2 million in impact instead of 3 million, we'll give $1 million back, then hey, maybe it would be more acceptable. But currently the numbers don't add up. They don't add up on a state level. There's still $500 million out there in additional funding that's not going to be, that's way over anything that's projected. It's not going to be used on a local level because, quite frankly, we're almost projected in a break-even situation. So to be quite frank with you, hey, and that's before you get to some of the items that Councilman Guy mentioned that monies can be, were or would be spent on. So quite frankly, hey, everybody's got to pull their belt in and everybody's got to make an effort in order to save money and manage your businesses better. Nobody's going down Market Street and funding a bunch of businesses so that they could have a savings account during the pandemic. And we shouldn't be doing that for state and local governments either. The numbers don't make sense here. This request is strictly another grab for money in the middle of a pandemic. And I agree, I understand completely that, hey, the opposite party's thing is don't let a crisis go to waste. And so I guess we're not letting this crisis go to waste. We're asking for as much money as possible. Again, the numbers don't add up. Thank you, Council President.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. On this House HR 647 COVID Relief Act, I have to say, please hope our council agrees to pass this. And I have to disagree with Councilman Adams, sounding like a Republican. I just disagree with what he just said, but I had to say that. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Councilman Oliver. All these monies are subject to Newcastle County and federal audits. And we have nowhere even gotten past what we need to go through. We're just starting to do assessments. I mean, we're complaining, but everybody wants to do that. We should do universal testing. If we do universal testing, someone has to pay for, we have to pay for those, those items and those tests. So we are not even, this is just the 2 months into this pandemic, and we don't even know what is to come. If there are more people here in the city of Wilmington, they find that are affected and are not able to self-quarantine, then it is we have to take care of them in housing and foods and things. That takes money. That's what this money would do. It would be, those are kinds of guidelines and federal rules that we have to comply by. It's the effect of COVID. It's not for business as normal. It is the effect of the COVID virus on our citizens. And we don't know what that effect totally is. We had educational issues. Our children are not getting properly educated, and we are supposed to. So if we could get dollars to supplement any type of educational process for our children, then we have monies to do that. And if we can get that because we send a resolution to Congress to do that, then I hope that everybody sees the value and importance of do so. You have to send required paperwork to show that even receive the reimbursement. So giving money for buy a building would not qualify for that, but by creating mentoring programs and making sure Wi-Fi and our kids are doing well in this distant learning, to me is a major reason for us to request these monies from the feds. So with that, I see no other members of council have any other comments. Are there any comments from the public? I see none. With that, there's no other comments from members of council. I ask that you call for the vote.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilman Congo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilman Turner,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
No.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Guy, Councilman Guy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh, Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Shabazz,
Yes,
12 yeas and 1 nay.
declared adopted.
Thank you
Councilmember
very much,
Friel.
Madam President. That concludes our business tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Councilmember Friel.
Yes, I have one for third and final, and one for first and second.
Ordinance 20-018, Agenda 4795, an ordinance establishing salaries of city council members for the 108th council session to be effective as of January 5th, 2021.
Madam President, I have a substitute to present in lieu of that ordinance.
Substitute number 1 to ordinance number 20-018, revision 1, agenda 4795. An ordinance establishing salaries of city council members for the 108th council session to be effective as of January 4th, 2022.
I move that be known as enacting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea nay vote.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as enacting clause of substitute ordinance and call for the yea nay vote on the question.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief and hopefully we won't lose connection again. It is this council's responsibility to set the salary for the next council that will start in 2021. This cannot be done in the last 6 months of a term, so that's why we're handling it at this point. The increase is based on the previous 4 years increase received from non-union employees, which comes to about 3%. There was one change made in the original ordinance, and that's why it's a substitute. Understanding the situation we're in right now, the committee felt that the effective date should be changed from January 2021 to January 2022. Now, there is a clause in the ordinance that states that a council member can reject the raise by writing to the city treasurer, alerting her that they did not want to accept this raise. But that's the basis of the ordinance.
I see somebody's hand. Councilwoman Harley.
Oh, yes, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to say that as it relates to Councilman Friel's statement that he just mentioned regarding the council members that did not want to accept the raise can let the treasurer know. So if that is the case, then why was it amended versus keeping it in the original draft?
And all I can say is council members felt, committee members felt that being that we were in the crisis situation where we were in, it just did not seem appropriate at this time to raise the salaries starting in January 2021. And they, I believe it was unanimous to push it back 1 year to January 2022.
Can I have a follow-up?
Yes, ma'am, Councilwoman Harley.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I fully understand the situation that we're in and how a lot is being impacted. And so I guess that clause as it relates to 2022, I think you said, is when it will be effective.
Yes.
January 2022, correct.
Oh, okay, so anyone that still feels that they don't want to receive it can just let the treasurer know. So that's the point.
Correct.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Congo.
Thank you, Madam President. I just think this is terrible timing. I'm surprised that this even came out of committee for us to be talking about a raise, whether it's delayed a year, however long it will be delayed. I just think that it's a slap in the face to our residents, for us to even be considering giving ourselves or giving the next council a raise. Terrible timing. I think it just puts out a vibe that we're not sensitive to the current environment that everyone is experiencing. And I think that we definitely need to vote this down. And if I can ask, how much do council members receive now? How much does the president receive now? How much does the pro temp receive now? And how much would the increase be? How much would it be if this passes? What are the numbers?
For council members, the increase will be $852. For the finance chair, the increase will be $1,001. For the president pro tem, the increase will be $967. For the president, the increase will be $1,077. Now that's over a year. That's over 12 months.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Again, it doesn't really matter the amount. I just wanted to know the numbers. But I think even the discussion is terrible. It's terrible timing right now. There's no way I can support this. And I hope that the majority of my council members feel the same way. I can only imagine how those who are watching these Zoom with us or watching on 22, I can only imagine how they may be feeling right now that we're considering giving ourselves a raise during these economic times. It's mind-boggling, honestly. Thank you.
Can I get clarity that it's not ourselves or we the next session coming in? I just want to get clarity that we're not speaking for ourselves. It's for the 108th session coming in.
Madam President, if I have a follow-up. There are several of us who are running for re-election, so it would be giving ourselves a raise if we were to win.
But none of us have won yet, sir.
I know, but again, the perception of us knowing that we're running and knowing that we're going to give ourselves a raise if we win is wrong. Thank you.
Councilmember Guy. That's who it was. Councilmember Guy, you had your hand up, sir?
Yes, I was interested in knowing the actual numbers that were mentioned as to the increase. Does the ordinance in any way say what the current salaries are before the increase?
No, the ordinance sets the salaries for the next term.
Okay, but you told us, you didn't tell us what the salary is. You told us what the
You
increase.
want the new salaries?
Yeah, the public needs to know what are the salaries and what's the increase. Then they can understand.
Okay, well, I gave the increase. The new salaries, if this passed, for council members would be $29,057. For the finance committee chair, it'll be $34,151. For the president pro tem, it'll be $32,997. For the president, it'll be $36,727. Those will be the salaries that would take effect in January of 2022.
Thank you.
Seeing there's no more comments from members of council, I don't see any comments from the public and no members of council. I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
No.
Councilman Congo,
No.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilman Turner,
No.
Councilwoman McCoy, Councilwoman McCoy,
I'm sorry. Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
No.
Councilman Guy,
No,
Councilwoman Walsh,
No,
President Shabazz.
Yes.
Seven yeas and 6 nays.
Declared adopted.
Madam President, I have one other ordinance for first and second.
Ordinance 20-020, Agenda 4800. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's general obligation bond, LED street lighting project, series of 2020 SEPRLF, in order to provide the funds necessary for capital projects of the city of Wilmington relating to the LED street lighting project, providing for the sale of the bond to the Delaware State Energy Program revolving loan fund, and authorizing other necessary action.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's general obligation bond, LED street lighting project, series of 2020 BSEPRLF, in order to provide the funds necessary for capital projects of the city of Wilmington relating to the LED street lighting project, providing for the sale of the bond to the Delaware State Energy Program revolving loan fund, and authorizing other necessary action.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Madam President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Do you have a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Adams.
No legislation this evening, ma'am. Thank you.
Councilmember Dixon.
No legislation this evening.
Councilmember Guy.
Yes, Madam President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 20-019, Agenda 4797. An ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code in order to authorize the city treasurer to access the budget reserve account funds for fiscal year 2020 and require replenishment of the budget reserve account funds in the issuing fiscal year.
Madam President, I have a substitute to present in lieu of that ordinance.
Substitute number 1 to ordinance number 20-019, revision 1 to agenda 4797. An ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code in order to authorize the city treasurer to access the budget reserve account funds for fiscal year 2020 and require replenishment of the budget reserve account funds in the issuing fiscal year.
Madam President, I move that that be known as the enacting clause of the substitute ordinance and call for a yea, nay vote.
Second,
It's been
Second.
properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the substitute ordinance and call for a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, Madam President. What this basically does is it authorizes the city treasurer to access budget reserve account funds and also requires their replenishment of those funds no later than October 1st, 2020. And it also includes a list of city officials that are to be notified upon those transactions taking place. That's all I have, Madam President.
Let's see, wait a minute, who is that? Councilwoman Harley?
Yes, Council President, are we on the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you. I think that this is a good piece of legislation here, and I would like to be added. Thank you. As a co-sponsor, if it's okay.
Okay.
Sure.
I see no other questions from members of council. I see no comments from the public and no members from council. Again, I would now ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilman Congo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes,
Councilman Turner,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Guy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
yes,
President Shabazz.
Yes,
13 yeas.
declared adopted.
Madam President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 20-021, Agenda 4801. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of a tax and revenue anticipation note, series of 2020, of the city of Wilmington in a principal amount not to exceed $20 million, providing for the sale of the note at private negotiated sale, authorizing the city's bond committee to determine the principal amount, interest rate, method of sale, and other terms and conditions of the note, pledging the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the city as security for the note, and authorizing other necessary action.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of a tax and revenue anticipation note, series of 2020, of the city of Wilmington in a principal amount not to exceed $20 million, providing for the sale of the note at private negotiated sale, authorizing the city's bond committee and determine the principal amount, interest rate, method of sale, and other terms and conditions of the note, pledging the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the city as security for the note, and authorizing other necessary action.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Madam President, I move that that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance referred to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Walsh. Councilmember Walsh.
No legislation tonight, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go into our petitions and communications. I would like to take the privilege of changing the order, and I would like to go first. I'd just like to share that as we continue to deal with the uncertainties of our health crisis, I implore all of us to stay vigilant and stay safe and stay home as much as possible. I know the state has issued a soft opening. I hope that we still would keep our to use all of these this opening as a soft opening, and only use it for essential use until we really get an understanding of how the COVID virus is here in the city of Wilmington. I'd again like to say appreciate the risk that our essential workers are taking every day, and that we continue to support them as much as possible. The Wilmington Community COVID mobilization team has partnered with the Wilmington Housing Authority to provide masks. Since there is a directive from the governor for us to have face coverings, and I know, and I want to applaud my members of council and others who have done a yeoman's job of providing masks and food and other resources to our citizens. I mean, this really is a demonstration of us all working together. Without knowing how long this period of having to wear face masks will take place. We know that some of the masks that we're giving out are you can use them more than one time, but we don't know the length of being able to use them. We felt it was prudent that we would provide washable cloth face masks to our most vulnerable populations. We partner with the Wilmington Housing Authority so that we can make sure that all of our residents in the Wilmington Housing Authority high rises are taken care of. So we will provide masks for that population, as well as masks for approximately 20 other vulnerable individuals in households here in the city of Wilmington. I did ask council members to take this time to identify where your seniors or your disabled might live independently in their homes, so that we can make sure that they get resources taken to them, to their homes, because they might not be able to come out. We want to make sure that they get the face mask and any other resources that we find available to them. Last night, we had a first series of town hall meetings that was held, and we shared to date where the city of Wilmington is dealing with this COVID. We shared information that we know and information that we don't know. And we were very pleased with the response and the information that people shared, so that we can take into consideration how this COVID-19 is impacting them, so that if we are able to get any type of relief funds from the various forms of government, that we would have resources to address all of those quality of life issues that have been affected by the by the COVID-19 pandemic. And today it's affecting us in certain ways, but we don't know how it would affect us as we go forward. And we want to be proactive in trying to have things in place to be able to assist our constituents as much as possible. Nothing is etched in stone, but we are just trying to collect what those and be proactive, as I said, and put into actions, plans into action to be prepared to help our constituents as much as possible. Again, thank you for everyone that participated last night, and we will let you know when the future conversations will be. We know that we need to continue the conversation so that we can continue to learn how this COVID-19 is impacting you, and that we can put things in place as appropriately. Again, I want to applaud my colleagues. I see you out there. You're working hard. You're giving out food. You're giving out masks, and you're doing a yeoman's job in demonstrating your service to your constituents. And in the future, if there's any, as things progress, please stay tuned to our mediums of Channel 22, Channel 28, and our education channel, Channel 965. We have pegged all of our pegged channels and put them in position to be a source of where you could get updated information of food drives and assessment sites. We know that we've been able to partner with our medical institutions to have assessment and testing sites throughout the city. And I won't go into exactly where they are because I feel my colleagues are probably, if it's in your district, you were going to share that in your comments, but there will be upcoming assessment sites for individuals to either walk up to get the assessment and testing if needed, or drive up to get those, have those assessments. And so it's best to know to do so. There was one comment that was made last night that I thought was really important that we shared to everyone, that there's so many food drives and giveaways, and it was reiterated by our own community advocate on the panel last night to say that don't take it if you don't need it, because you never know who might need it. So I really encourage individuals to be vigilant to what is out there for us, follow the directives, stay tuned to our channels and social medias to know the latest and up-to-date information about this COVID-19. With that, I wish to ask for comments from, going backwards, Councilman Friel. Any comments tonight, sir?
Actually, can I have a point of order?
Yes.
Aren't the at-large the last ones, if you're going backwards?
You have to do at large first.
Okay, I was going by districts, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that would be you, Councilwoman Walsh.
That would be me, wouldn't it? Thank you, Council President.
Yes.
Just a couple of things. During the budget hearing this week, one group that I really failed to make a comment about that I believe should have are sanitation workers. Our sanitation workers have just been doing an unbelievable job. They're the unsung workers in our city all the time. Now, with all the people that are home, the trash cans are twice as filled as they were before all this happened, because the kids are out of school and the people are out of work, whether they're getting paid or not. Just the fact that they're at home. And, they're amongst the lowest paid jobs in the city of Wilmington, and they're still there. And on a daily basis, the things that they're exposed to, such as unwrapped diapers and needles and everything else that they're exposed to every single day, and they still show up for their jobs. And I think they should get a damn good pat on the back for that. Also, for our parks workers, just because they're taking good care of our parks right now doesn't mean you can go back in them for a family picnic. And they're keeping the parks, number one, it's their job, but they're also doing the food program for the city, many of the parks workers. So they're doubling down on what they have to do. But remember, the grass is getting cut and things like that, so more diseases don't come around for the mosquitoes nesting and all the other things that nest when weeds are too high. So I think our city workers are doing a nice job throughout our city. They should all be thanked, and I'm grateful for each one of them. There have been a lot of food giveaways, and many people have, especially those that are not getting paid through this, do not have unemployment insurance through their boss. They still haven't gotten anything if they're self-employed. And so it's difficult sometimes to take care of what many consider another family member, and that's their animals. So this time next week, well, actually 10:30 in the morning to 12, I believe it is. There is going to be a food giveaway for the pets down at the ball stadium. So stay in your car, make sure you have your mask on. You're just going to be asked to pop your trunk and first come, first serve. So get there and get in line, and please, everybody behave. We're all in this horrible, horrible thing together. And I was just sitting here listening to everybody, and then something dawned on me, this somewhat sadness of all the deaths and everything else that's happening in our country, but just little things that make Wilmington unique. And that is what's supposed to be going on tonight, besides the council meeting, is flower market. And so many years and years and years of all kids from every neighborhood in our city enjoying their day at flower market. And then this year there isn't one. So for all those mothers out here, and those that have been called mothers out here, I would like to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day, whether you're a birth mother, whether you're a stepmother, whether you're just a woman who hangs out and mothers other children. Thank you for what you do for our children, and I hope you all have a very, very nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Guy. Councilmember Guy.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. The first thing I want to do, I want to co-sign something that was just said by Councilwoman Walsh, because I too, as I've noticed up and down the street, and I just noticed that those public works employees, they just don't miss a beat. And I remember in the beginning, they were the first ones who were threatened in Delaware. I think we had over 20 people that had to take a couple of weeks in quarantine, but they're the soldiers. And related to that same comment is I had a quote I had written down, and it was that the last will be first and the first will be last. Everybody's heard that before. And there's the people who society thinks are important, but we're really finding out who's important. That's the thing that this is revealing, this COVID. Who are the people who's really essential?
Mhm.
Every organization has a whole bunch of fluff in it. But at its core, there's certain people that you can't do without. So I just want to make that comment. And those are the people who are actually out there on the battlefield. They're not able to get a computer and go home and work from home. You can't be in public works and work from home. They're on the battlefield, those nurses. So I have to just respect the people out on the battlefield, because as a councilman, I get to get a computer and sit at home and talk at a council meeting. I don't have to be at risk, at least not in connection with that activity. If I'm at risk, it's some other activity. So I can only respect those folks and thank them, appreciate them. The other thing I want to say is that over the course of my lifetime, I've had certain exposures to things. And I used to be the city of Wilmington's education chair. Me personally, I would love to see the education committee get the Secretary of Education and the district superintendents at an education committee meeting to find out what are they doing today about the education of Wilmington children and what are their plans moving forward. I think that's a meeting that we ought to have. I would schedule it, but I'm not the education chair. I also used to be the Judiciary Committee chair. And in this moment, I would be having one meeting dealing with a civil rights issue, and that's called the digital divide. Now, I had put in place an internet access program in Wilmington, and some of my colleagues and council saw fit to get rid of that benefit for city employees. But I had also started putting computer labs in the neighborhoods, but that died off after I was able to do South Bridge. The other thing is we had some parks that were hot spots, and this is back in the day, and every place in the city was supposed to be an entire hot spot. But what happens is when you have a vision, but you got haters who want to block the vision, or try to destroy it if you're not around, then a lot of benefits for the community that are put in place aren't there when they need them. So I did what I was supposed to do. And one day when I write the book, I tell you the people who undid these things that we now need, that we're running around wishing that we had. Wilmington was supposed to be two things: a community where every house had internet access and a computer. Every kid was supposed to have that 20 years ago. And we had Comcast at the table for the internet accounts, and we had legislation dealing with 10, 100, excuse me?
30 seconds, sir.
Okay, with equipment for the computers. So those are the main things that I need to say tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Great points, Mr. Guy.
Thank you, Madam President.
Councilwoman Dixon?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I actually are going to go off of what Councilman Guy just left off with. Actually, next, Nerded Now, and I want to give them a huge shout out because they have been trying to work on the digital divide issue with our school systems and trying to keep up with the pace of students not having the right equipment by doing distance learning, which is still an issue for still a lot of the districts. I will just want to say that next Thursday on March 14th at 10:30 a.m., we will be gifting 40 computers to Warner students. So we'll be giving them their laptops or computers so that they can do some of their distance learning, especially for their special needs population within the school. And I want to thank their school counselor, Kelly Green, who really stayed on top of me to make sure that I can get Nerded Now to help with giving out those 40 computers, in addition to thanking Capital One for putting up the funding in order to get those laptops for those students. What I've been hearing lately, I've been getting a lot of calls about rent and water bill inconsistencies. So I would like to, if we can, start as we're looking into all the things that are happening with COVID, but there are still a lot of the main issues that have been happening and facing our residents, which is how to, now that, May is here, I know that DHSA has stopped applications right now for grants for rent, and that they needed like additional $7 million in order to help pay for people who have put in like 5,000 applications. And then also, just so that everyone knows, there's no minimum in Delaware that you need to have in order to be evicted. So we have to keep that in mind as we go forward. As our residents are going through this crisis where they're not able to pay for May rent or mortgage for May, that we make sure, and there's definitely an increase, 90% of our population in Delaware was able to pay their rent in April. but that was really before COVID really hit in the month of April. So now that thousands of people have now applied more for unemployment. That's more of a huge burden on individuals trying to figure out how they're paying their rent or their mortgage, in addition to just keeping a roof over their head for their families. And I've helped out a homeless family also who's just got laid off and still waiting for unemployment. Saran has done, our Secretary of Labor has done a great job with trying to get unemployment to each person that we can. It is still a process, so I ask for your patience during that as well. But I know your bills are not patient. So I know there's other things that we need to help with finding out. So keep sending us those things so that we can keep making those changes. I've sent a number of water bill inconsistencies to our Director Taylor, who has been helping out with a lot of those issues. And then also more recent today, I heard about some individuals, seniors now, who had bought their houses in like the 80s, who now are going to try to sell their houses and got grants from the city previously, that now have an issue with getting a bill as they're trying to sell their houses. So I don't know how many more of seniors haven't been experiencing that, but I have received that call today as well. We'll be looking into that more so that we don't have any other seniors who are trying to transition into smaller housing, into nursing homes and other places. So they're not burdened with, thousands of dollars and a lien on their properties. And then I'll just end with, again, thank you to all of our essential workers, as my colleagues already alluded to, especially the folks who don't have a choice and have to be out there regardless of anything else. And they are being underpaid at the same time. So I'm just considering all those individuals as we go throughout the day. So thank you.
And Councilman Dixon, I would love to add those seniors to the list so that as we send out all the resources through COVID-19, that we make sure that those seniors, and I share that with all members of council, so to make sure those seniors are on that list. So I appreciate you can send your list of your seniors to your staffers so they make sure they're included in that effort. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Councilmember Adams.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I'd like to commend everybody in the city of Wilmington. Certainly the administration has done a great job in the sense that public works workers are still out there, the police are still walking the street, the fire company is still answering the phone. But we pulled together here in the city of Wilmington, and I think that's huge, that we have to give a huge thank you to everybody. The postman's still walking the street every day delivering mail. Whether you go to Acme, ShopRite, Food Lion, Save a Lot, the same people are there every day serving us, despite whatever the risk they may be facing with this. And I just got to say, no matter where I go, the people, as far as supporting the local businesses, I have been happily waiting in line at local restaurants, at local takeout places and things like that. Gee, last night I think I stood in line for 45 minutes till I got served with regard to takeout food there. Certainly, hey, I wore my mask, social distancing, but that's just it. We are all doing our part here in the city of Wilmington. Remember, we're a city. We're supposed to be a hot spot, and that's never really happened here in the city of Wilmington. Certainly, God has looked down upon us, but we also did our job as far as following the rules and what we should be doing and not be doing as a people here and residents of the city. So again, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone. Certainly, I'd like the governor to keep that in mind as he loosens up and allows us to recover from this pandemic. Okay, the residents of the city of Wilmington are smart. We will keep our social distances. We will keep washing our hands. We still will be doing everything that made us effective during the pandemic. And we got to get this economy rolling again so that we can get back to normal and be successful again as both a people and a country. Lastly, with regard to businesses, I'd like to say the second round of funding for the PPP loans and other things went much smoother than the first time around. And I know Jeff Flynn got involved with the SBA and a few other things to make sure that the businesses in the city here, okay, got their fair share of that loan money and everything else too. So, hey, everybody's doing what they need to do. If everybody keeps their head as they open up this economy, we're going to remain, with minimum risk and minimal affected by this pandemic. And I think that's a really good thing. Please, hey, thank yourselves and whomever you're quarantined with. But then again, don't forget to keep following the rules, what made us successful to this point onward as we start opening things up on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Friel.
Yes, Madam President, I'll be brief. This past Monday night, we finished up our budget review for the fiscal year 2021 budget. We had 8 hearings, 8 evenings of hearings, and probably about 20 different reviews. As I stated that night, I wanted to thank the administration, the budget office, my colleagues on council for participating in the process, and especially Marshall Bass Knight, who did all the hard work. But I was remiss in not mentioning in these unusual times the assistance that we got from the IT department and WITN. They did a great job helping us have all these Zoom hearings. We will have a Finance Committee meeting on Monday, May 18th, and at that time we'll be voting out the budget package so that we can have a final vote by the end of May. We will be looking at a substitute ordinance that will include additional cuts in the fiscal year 2021 budget throughout all the departments. I do also, like my colleagues, want to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day and stay safe. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
I wasn't going to go in this direction, but I do, as part of the city's working group, COVID working group, I have to clear up some dangerous statements that may have been said tonight. We are not reopening the economy. This is not safe right now until we get widespread testing. Any epidemiologist, any public health expert will tell you this. This is how we ended up in the same place because the White House, did not give us the information in certain individuals. So in Wilmington, our group is being diligent in really informing the public. So far, only about 1,700 City of Wilmington residents have been tested. That's a very minimal amount when it's over 71,000 Wilmington residents. So until we get widespread, repeatable testing, we are not out of the woods yet. So we all have to be prepared to be together and rise together through a fight. And that will carry us till a vaccine is eventually received. So I just don't want to sugarcoat things that, tomorrow you can start going out as you regularly did, because a surge will happen again and it will be worse. So it's just, I think, incumbent upon us as city officials to be diligent and to give accurate information, factual information. I mean, and the premise that the economy has not shrunk, tell that to the small business owner who has been closed for 2 months. Tell that to the gym owner who may not be operating until the fall. Tell that to the art studio owner. So the economy has shrunk. If you look at any economic forecasting, it's shrunk by GDP, shrunk by 4.8% this quarter. Worldwide, we're looking at probably 10 to 15% contraction in the economy. So I'm not here to be an alarmist. I'm here to be a realist. And our job as city officials is to inform and arm the public with facts. So I just wanted to put the facts out there, the numbers. You can fact check me, but we have to be diligent. And that's why this fight over resources, we can't do that. I've been watching a lot of the Jordan documentary, Last Dance. The Chicago Bulls are one of the best teams of all time. And we really got to be a strong team. City council, working with the administration, working with state officials to save our largest city and to save the state, because this is a crisis that will happen and it's going to affect us long term. So I just wanted to kind of lay the facts out there for the public. I think if you look at next steps, we're not only planning to address these immediate crises with the working group, but also look at recovery. Because right now we have a lot of homeless folks. We have a lot of folks who are in prison who are coming in and out of prison who may have had exposure because they're at high risk in prisons. So until we address these issues, we're not really where we need to be. So that's what we're looking at. We have, and my other colleagues will talk about testing sites. Please go to that. The testing is very important. And the testing, not just screening, but the testing is crucial. So with that, the other note, please support Cornerstone CDC's Business Relief Fund. It is one of the most paramount funds we have in the city. It's matched by Capital One. It's actually in the works to spread it citywide. It's very important that we get crucial, instant microloan relief to our businesses right away, because similar to our homeowners and our renters, their rent is due too. So we really need to work together as a team to support that small business relief fund if you can, whether it's $5, $10, whatever you can, that'd be very helpful. And with that, again, God bless our essential workers, those who are in the front lines. They continue to give and put their own families at risk. So that cannot go understated. So just folks, be safe and practice social distancing.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank today, we had the Delaware Legislative Black Caucus. They hosted a COVID-19 testing event today. I just want to thank them for coming out. I think that was in the 7th district. I think they had to move it from one location to the other, but I'm glad that they were flexible and quick on their feet. Thank you so much for looking out for our community. It's very, a lot of minorities in that community, and we are known right now that we are like the hot spot. So also just wanted to say thank you, because on April 27th, Monday, April 27th was like, tomorrow is the day that the governor mandates face masks. And I'm like, I'm looking around in my neighborhoods, I'm like, no one is prepared. There's still so many people who did not have them on. So I made some calls. I just want to thank my neighbors who actually heard me, Bill Hrabowski, Helena and Steimer. I was so grateful that they seen the need and they donated. And also for our city treasurer, Velda Potter and her husband, and they made certain that they brought over donation as well. When I asked, they came, and the next day I had masks. And I wanted to state that I made certain that everyone had one. These little corner stores are actually charging for masks $2 to $3, and you cannot enter without one. We all know when it comes to the public setting. And so we just want to make certain that everyone is equipped. I'm still seeing people without masks in my neighborhood. I'm still giving them out. We had like a situation on Maryland Avenue today, and I'm still giving out masks. And I'm begging people to please stay equipped. I understand that it can be a little inconvenient, but I just want to see you here after, when things finally calm down. I want to make certain you didn't get sick. When it comes to the governor, I made a statement, baby steps. I want to make certain that everyone within the sound of my voice realizes that social distancing is still needed. Wear your mask. Governor, I thank you so much for the forethought of pushing back the presidential election, the primary rather, and the absentee ballots. Bravo. We want to make certain that we try to keep the crowd down to a minimum. So that was actually great. And I understand the pressure of making certain that all of the business owners who are suffering, that are unable to, to try to figure things out, which way is up. I understand the pressure from that. But, stay strong. We don't want to see a surge, a resurgence. I'm hoping that the next phase actually will come out much, much slower from this baby steps point. So I just wanted to make certain that if you needed a cheerleader for that, I'll be your cheerleader. Slow it down. And last but not least, happy Teachers Appreciation Week and happy Nurses Day for yesterday. So I just wanted to make certain I try to thank as many people as possible, because I am still safely working 2 jobs here from my little office, my makeshift office in the house. So for those who are out there, for those who are helping our families, our children, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Turner.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to say thank you. This past weekend, this past Sunday, myself, Councilman Congo, Councilman Guy, and also Paul White III from Silverbrook Cemetery, and pandemic food distribution, Tamika Mays and Talisha Mays, and Charity of Crossing. We all partnered up to give out 1,000 food boxes. We gave out 40,000 pounds of food to the elderly, less fortunate, and also families. We also did deliveries as well, and we'll be doing more of it in the up and coming weeks. So if anyone has any seniors, anyone that needs a box, please get in contact with myself, Councilman Turner, also Councilman Congo, and Councilman Guy, if you need anyone that need a box, a food box. I'm also glad to hear that we finally got focused on COVID. You know, myself and other council members, we already kind of said it in a press release and different information about COVID. Some of my colleagues, even on the record, were stating at the time that they thought COVID was a hoax. So I'm glad that we finally realized that COVID is serious, and we, you know, put together a task force. Hopefully they're looking into some of the things we need, but there are certain issues that need to be addressed when we talk about this task force. And one of those things I asked last night on the live feed was what are the current COVID-19 community response efforts? A, food program. Isn't the food program already part of an annual food program managed through Parks and Recreation that's completely funded by the state? Also, for the last month or so, we had already in the budget 172,000 for masks. Have we done a purchase request, been submitted to our purchasing department as of yet? And when and how would these masks be made available to the public? I also heard that we did get in 20,000 masks. I think Council President, you said that. Hopefully we have a purchase order for that. But if we had $172,000 at 20,000 masks, that would be $8.60 a mask. So I hope we do have documentation of that. I put that question for the mayor last night, but I guess it got overlooked while we were on the live. And that's another thing, Madam President, we may need to look at is, you know, putting town hall meetings on live. I mean, we do our council meeting on Zoom, so we should have interaction with our public when we do our Zoom instead of doing a live call on Facebook Live. And I just want to say to our public, yes, we may be softly opening back up, but please keep your social distancing, keep your mask covered as well. I just want to say this. You won't see me, myself, at any COVID testing sites or screenings because I don't fully have the knowledge if these testing kits are accurate. We done had 3 or 4 testing kits in the world, and 3 of them have already been faulty. So you won't see me at any testing kits, nor will I be promoting testing sites on any of my platform. But please be safe and let's take care of our immune system. God bless, and I love you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Harley.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I have a few quick announcements to share. One, I want to say thank you as well to all of our essential workers and especially to our first responders. And as you had mentioned earlier, I want to thank the city of Wilmington, which includes our mayor and administration, as well as city council, the Trinity Health, Mid-Atlantic, and St. Francis, for us all partnering on Monday, May the 11th, from 12 to 2. There's going to be a drive-through COVID-19 assessment at Easy on Mount Carmel, which is on 800 Walnut Street. Flyers and information has been posted on social media. And again, that's Monday, May the 11th from 12 to 2. and it's going to be at Easy on Mount Carmel. I also want to mention that on Tuesday, this week, May the 5th, I attended the Christine School Board meeting. There is some important that I thought essential that we are aware of, and that is one, to council colleagues, comment that he made is that the district is in a new will be leaving at the end of the school year. And though I had been thinking about bringing someone from the board or the appropriate person into the Education, Youth, and Family Committee meeting to give us an update, I thought that it would be more prudent for us to possibly wait until they select a new superintendent, because we're at the end of the school year, a new superintendent coming in. More than likely, things will be changed to some degree. And I thought it would be of more value to wait until they hired a new superintendent and that they actually get their new vision and plan together, and then invite them to the Education, Youth, and Family Committee meeting. So thank you for even mentioning that, Council Member Guy. And I also want to say that I too, I am very saddened over the situation with Ahmaud Arbery in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm sure most of us have heard about the story. I just wanted to say, you know, this is one of those situations where the whole globe is talking about it, literally. And I wanted to say that on Friday, May the 8th, Al Sharpton is going to be moderating a panel on Facebook Live, again, Friday, May the 8th at 6 o'clock. And Ahmaud's mother and father is going to be on the panel. His civil rights attorney, Crump, his family's attorney, Attorney Merritt, and they're going to be on the panel, and they're going to be talking about the situation. And again, that's going to be Friday, May the 8th at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about Ahmaud. And there's also going to be, on May the 8th, they're going to be doing a run and walkathon in his honor, May the 8th. So if you want to check social media for the different groups that are going to be running or walking in his honor, we all know that he was an avid jogger, and that pretty much is how his life, and he was jogging. And as you all know the story. So, you know, for those that are interested and want to do a walk or run, again, it's going to be May the 8th, and check social media for more information. And I just want to end with Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Madam President. Woo, I don't like it going that way. No, I'm just teasing. No, basically, I just like to echo what all the council members have said. I like to give kudos to all of my council members. I think we all have been out there working hard in the community. I've been hearing a lot of good things about all the council members, how everybody's pitching in. And I've been watching TV and they talk about it's one big family. And I said, we can all agree to disagree, but we're one big family also, because we have really been out there, all the council members being seen. I've been hearing a lot of good things. It takes a village, takes a village for all of us to do everything. It takes all of us to try to participate in this epidemic. So I give kudos to every little bit that everybody's doing. Yolanda, if you need a couple of masks, we'll talk off the record, but I do have a couple for you. But first, let me stick to my script. I'd like to thank the mayor's office for the updates. I like to thank Madam President for coming out a couple of times for me when I know you hadn't planned to. I'd like to thank Parks and Recreation. I have to give my hat to Kevin, Kelly, Wayne, and Bob and them. I see them giving out the lunches. I walked with them one day on the east side to give out some lunches. but they're out diligently giving the kids or whoever needs something to eat and every day they putting them on people's doors, and I see them out there. I like to thank the whole community for coming together and doing a good job. It's a lot of small businesses y'all have mentioned. They're really taking a hit. I hear a lot of people saying, do some soft openings, and I agree with that. It's going to have to be some soft openings. I heard the guy from Galitrio saying they've been there since the 17th century, and if the doors doesn't open in 2 weeks, they're going to have to close down. He was actually crying on the phone. I heard the lady Evelyn on 16th and Market talking about she don't even know she's going to reopen. So I know this COVID is serious, but some of these small businesses, I don't know. I've been outside of the Ale House ordering food for local businesses also, but I think I would hope the governor will open up some of these places, a soft opening, because some of these places, they just can't survive. I like to thank the Black Caucus also for doing testing over there with at Reverend Weeks' New Destiny Church. That was Senator Brown, Sherry, Representative Sherry Dorsey and Frank. They were out there. They had organized it. So I like that they're stepping up to the plate, and not just them, the whole General Assembly is really doing a good job. I think everybody, I don't like to be selfish. I like to thank my brother for donating 100 masks to start off, brown bag. Brother Akil, and his AKA is Akil, but his real name is Gary Young. He's from Atlanta, and he sent me like 500 masks just to give out. And I like to thank the Food Bank of Delaware. I'm not going to call no names. That whole staff, they just been out throughout the whole state of Delaware, supporting all the communities. And as I said, I just pray that everybody's well. I had my family member in New York passed away, and a close friend in Philly passed away. So yeah, I know 2 individuals that hit home that have passed away from the COVID. So the social distance, Councilman McCoy and everybody, I totally agree. As I said, I've been riding around on the east side, just handing out masks on the north side, and some of our people just don't get it. And some of them told me I don't need a mask. I'm saying, this is serious, and so we have to be mindful. Some people just don't realize how serious this is, and somebody told me we have to teach them. But I think we've been doing enough teaching. I think it's relevant, it's prevalent. So I just like to thank, all the council members for giving out food. I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about that and all the whole work that everybody's doing. It takes a village. So I just, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Congo.
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to give Councilwoman Dixon a few minutes.
Councilwoman Dixon.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make a correction. I realized that I said March 14th for the computer giveaway instead of May 14th. So apparently I'm going backwards instead of forward. So I just wanted to, exactly. So it will be next Thursday, May 14th at 10:30 a.m. in front of Warner Elementary School. Thank you.
Councilman Congo.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Again, I just want to thank Councilman Guy, Councilman Vash Turner, and Paul White of Silverbrook Cemetery, Helping Hands, food distribution. Just a great team that I'm fortunate enough to be a part of. Councilman Turner mentioned that we gave away over 1,000 boxes of food last Sunday. The next date is going to be on June the 7th, and our goal is to give away 1,500 boxes of food, and we'll be able to help 6,000 people. So again, I just want to thank everyone who was a part of that. The last 2 food giveaways have been on the north side, but now we're going to take it to the west side in Councilman Turner's district. So he will give that location shortly. I also want to just let everyone know that Wilmington's first walk-in, our own urgent care center here in the city, the only one in the city of Wilmington within city limits, is still open, and they are still doing COVID testing 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. They also have telemedicine where you can do a video call, and they can assess some of your symptoms that you may have, not only for COVID, but other ailments that you may have over video. So you won't have to go into the actual office. And again, they're located at 4001 Miller Road. again, right here in the city of Wilmington. They're open 7 days a week, and they're in Suite 1. Their contact number is 407-5222. Again, their number is 407-5222. Also want to thank the Links Incorporated who came to our food giveaway, and they were giving away masks. And they gave away over 250 masks. They gave away over 500 pairs of gloves, and they have already signed up for the next our next giveaway. So again, I just want to thank everyone who was a part of that and making that so successful. I also want to remind everyone to not only social distance when we're in the public, but if you're able to leave your house and some family members don't, you may have to be careful and social distance within your own household. It's really important that you protect those who you live with, whether they're the elderly or younger children. If you're going out and they're not, please be careful. Everyone has mentioned how serious this is, but a lot of times we think that our close friends and family can't transmit anything to us, so we can't transmit anything to them. But that is not true. There have been families who have been devastated from COVID-19. So just please continue to just be careful and wear your mask and sanitize and wash your hands. And I think that's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, being last, I guess I'll have to repeat what most of my colleagues have said, but it's necessary. I also would like to thank the first responders and our sanitation people and everyone else in the city that's working hard every day. I'd like to thank the mayor and council for the very informative Zoom meeting yesterday. And also I'd like to thank the county for the $2.4 million that they're giving Wilmington. Along with that, I'm going to piggyback off of what Councilman Congo said and encourage everyone to use Wilmington First. It's in the first district. It's the only emergency center in the city, and they are doing testing. You don't need a doctor's appointment, a doctor's letter. You don't need an appointment. It's a walk-in, but they are doing COVID testing. So please use this service. They're new, fairly new, and they don't really need the business, but they really would like to encourage the city to use their services. They're getting a lot of people from the county to come in. I also would like to point out that just recently they're finding out that children are affected by the COVID virus. So please encourage your children to wear the mask. I think there's an age limit under 12 or under 10, they shouldn't, but otherwise definitely encourage them, because I think they're saying that the kids are being affected in a different manner. It's affecting their heart and they're having like sudden cardiac failure. And I would like to compliment the first district. A few times I've been out, I've seen most of us with masks on. I don't know about the social distancing. You need to watch that. You need to maintain the social distancing, even if you have a mask on. But I do have masks. If you'd like to contact me, I don't have a lot. But like I said, it seems like we are using our masks, and I compliment you for that. And I thank you. And with the loosening of the restrictions, don't forget your mask and don't forget the social distancing. I'd also like to thank Parks and Rec for the food and what they're doing, but also for repairing the barriers on Matson Run and Lee Boulevard. I thank Kevin a lot for that. They've been out there working the last couple of days. So it's just thanks to everyone. And I agree with Councilman Oliver. We've all been working hard. We've all been trying to meet the needs. And if there are some that we're missing, get in touch with us. That's the only way we will know. So thank you, and everyone stay safe. That's it, Madam President.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Gray, of the 20,000 that the working group in the city is providing, there are masks for children. There will be masks for children as well.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, so with that, again, everyone be safe. Thank you everyone for your comments and great work we're doing, colleagues, in addressing this COVID-19. And I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second,
All those in favor? say
second.
Aye.
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 Motion adjourned, meeting adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, my love.